Good evening, everyone. Welcome, I am the Kaiju no Kami, and to kick off my third annual Halloween month, I'm going to talk about the Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors. Ah yes, the Simpsons. A show that was so great, so fun, so funny, that ended up going on for so long, and it's still going today, that has pretty much become a zombie in of itself. Well, there were 10 great segments in the Treehouse of Horrors that premiered back in 1990, so let's take a look at my favorite segments from them. Number 10. Kicking off my list is a segment that I just love watching every year, and it is just so fun, so great. It's a little interesting take on a post-apocalyptic world with the Simpsons in it. And that is the Omega Man. The Omega Man is a parody of Charleston Heston's The Omega Man, based off I Am Legend from Richard Matheson. In this version, Springfield is destroyed by a nuclear bomb launched by France, and we get to see Homer act like Homer as if he were the last man on Earth.
What's with all that death? Oh my God. Everyone's gone!
As with most of the segments on this list, it features some top-notch comedy with several great pieces of dialogue, and who would totally not do this if they were able to?
I said, whoa! Good God, yo! What is it good for? Absolutely nothing!
Number 9. What's one of the scariest things going on in our world these days? Advertising. And that is why Attack of the 50-Foot Eyesores is number 9. You ever wonder what would happen if our advertisements came to life? Well, don't you worry, the Simpsons have got you covered on this front. It's a nice social commentary on how out of control advertising has gotten, while also providing us with some truly spectacular moments, such as this one. It's also one of the few Halloween segments to have a really catchy song.
To stop those monsters, 1, 2, 3. Here's a fresh new way that's trouble-free.
Just don't look, just don't look. Just don't look.
That wasn't very Halloweenish of me. Let's get to the next one. Number 8. One of the great things about Simpsons in the early days is there were a lot of talented writers working on the show. So much so that anything could work as a parody, especially for a Halloween segment. However, they would also try to stick with horror and science fiction settings. So it's no wonder that Time and Punishment ends up being a lot of fun. Ah yes, Time and Punishment. I love this episode for its riffing on Ray Bradbury's A Sound of Thunder, which talks about the butterfly effect and what changing one thing in the past could do to the future.
If you ever travel back in time, don't step on anything, because even the tiniest change can alter the future in ways you can't imagine.
Homer gets his hand stuck in a toaster and plays around with it, which ends up turning into a time machine.
This is gonna cost me.
So he goes from his normal everyday world to a world ruled by Ned Flanders to one where donuts rain from the sky.
Would you kindly pass me a donut?
Donut? What's a donut? It's raining again.
Ah, Homer, if you'd only stayed in this world for 1 second longer. Number 7. So you know how I just recently said that these Halloween specials were based on a lot of science fiction and horror related items? Well, in the early days, they also did a lot on the Twilight Zone, which is where a lot of the source material for these entire segments comes from, and this one is no different. The next one on my list is Hungry Are the Damned. Hungry Are the Damned is a parody of the Twilight Zone episode To Serve Man. It is our introduction to the Rigelian aliens, who will become a staple of the yearly Halloween anthologies, whether it is them making a quick cameo appearance or having a story dedicated to them. Either way, none of their appearances have ever topped this bit.
Anyone from a species that has mastered intergalactic travel, raise your hand.
They kidnap the Simpson family, having to use 2 beams on Homer, to take dragged into their homeworld where they would be treated like gods. They begin by constantly feeding them, making one wonder what their true intentions are. It ends up with a hilarious bit that contradicts the first half, making it even funnier the second time around and beyond.
It's a harmless cookbook. It's just a little dusty.
Number 6. What's scarier than clowns or killer dolls? Killer dolls that are clowns. And that brings me to my next one, Clown Without Pity. This segment features Homer buying Bart a crusty doll for his birthday. Unbeknownst to Homer, the doll is alive and wants to kill him.
Didn't even pull the string that time.
I said I'm going to kill you. You, Homer Simpson.
Oh, yeah? With what?
Many out there believe this to be a parody of Child's Play when it is actually based on another episode of The Twilight Zone. Just like the episodes before it on this list, this one is also full of great pieces of dialogue from Grandpa's
That doll is evil, I tells ya. Evil! Evil!
Grandpa, you said that about all the presents.
I just want attention.
to Homer's entire conversation with the salesman he buys the doll from.
Beware, it carries a terrible curse.
That's bad.
But it comes with a free Frogut.
That's good.
The Frogut is also cursed.
That's bad.
Oh, and of course we have a moment like this.
The doll's trying to kill me and the toaster's been laughing at me.
Number 5. Back in the 80s, Wes Craven scared the crap out of audiences with a movie about a man who could kill people in their dreams. For some reason, it took the Simpsons 6 Halloween specials to do this, but they finally did, and they gave us Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace. Willie is accidentally killed by Springfield Elementary's negligence and vows revenge on all the school's children, killing them in their dreams.
Welcome to my world!
We get a lot of laughs in the episode with great pieces of dialogue.
Goodbye, Bart. Goodbye, Lise. Hope you get reincarnated as someone who can stay awake for 15 minutes.
Additionally, it opens with a really nice tribute to Tex Avery before the nightmare material begins. You know what, with all the terror this episode has, especially when he attacks Martin, this is actually my favorite moment from this episode.
Wheel him out quietly. It's best the children don't see him. Oh, just get it out of here. Not into the kindergarten.
Number 4. There are 3 simple words to describe the next segment on my list. Homer?
You was a zombie?
That's right. Next on my list is Dial Z for Zombie. The Simpsons featured zombies before they were cool.
Take me! Rain! 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 Rain!
No matter how sick I get of zombies in today's media, I never grow tired of this episode due to its witty dialogue, hilarious moments, and the fact that Springfield Elementary has an occult section in its library.
Gee, never noticed that before.
Oh, and who could forget the different themes used in the spells Bart reads out?
Cullen, Rayburn, Nars, Trebek.
Like TV detectives
Check, Mannix, Vanacek, Dano.
and condom brands.
Trojan, Ramses, Magnum, Chic.
Such a shame that this show would end up becoming its own zombie years later. Number 3. The next episode on my list is just a classic all the way around. No matter how many times you watch it, you cannot help but laugh at it. Its premise is so ridiculous and yet so badass at the same time, and that is The Devil and Homer Simpson. 5 words come to mind with this episode. Ned Flanders is the devil. This is hands down the most badass concept the writers of the show could have ever done. It is such a nice twist. It works perfectly within the confines of this tale.
I'm smarter than you.
You are not smarter than me. I'll see you in hell yet, Homer Simpson.
Not only that, but you have such great moments like this.
Hey, Bart.
Hey,
Have all the donuts in the world! I don't understand it.
Who's that goat-legged fellow? I like the cut of his jib.
Prince of Darkness, sir. He's your 11 o'clock.
Add to it the incompetency level of Lionel Hutz, voiced by the phenomenal Phil Hartman.
Mr. Simpson, don't you worry. I watched Matlock in a bar last night. The sound wasn't on, but I think I got the gist of it.
And the sweet ending the tale receives, and you have yourself a masterpiece. Number 2. I love Edgar Allan Poe. What I love even more is when you have a man with a very deep, smooth voice reading his works, as we got with The Raven. Who knew that James Earl Jones could really bring the fear and macabre, or as Bart calls it,
macabre tale,
out of a 19th century poem?
Suddenly, there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
Not just that, but the music, the animation, and Dan Castellaneta's voice work all add to the chilling poem like none other.
Now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating,
"'Tis a visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more."
Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer.
This episode to me is the definitive version of this poem adapted on the screen, and no one will ever be able to do it better. Even Vincent Price reciting the poem in his movie adaptation fails to top Jones, and he too has a very horror-esque voice.
And the raven, ever flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door.
Oh, and it gave me one of my favorite lines to quote whenever I'm watching a horror movie that is boring.
You know what would have been scarier than nothing? What? Anything!
Honorable mentions.
Oh, there, that's better.
Much better.
Mom, Dad, look! It's an ancient Indian burial ground.
I'm coming to rescue the lot of you. Ow! Ugh, I'm bad at this.
Otto, you gotta do something. There's a gremlin on the side of the bus.
Number 1. Sometimes these top 10 lists can be hard to pick your number 1 choice. There's a lot of times where it's like, well, I like this one, but that one's just as good. Whoa, can I really pick that one over that one? I don't know. But you know what? As much as I love all these previous stories I've just mentioned, this is the one that has always been my favorite, and that is The Shining.
Shh, you wanna get sued?
I mean, The Shining. This parody of The Shining features the Simpson family being hired to take care of a hotel Mr. Burns owns during the winter. Burns takes all of the beer away with him, along with cutting off the cable.
Did you ever stop to think that maybe it was doing this that caused the previous caretakers to go insane and murder their families?
Perhaps. Tell you what, we come back and everyone's slaughtered, I owe you a Coke.
This causes Homer to dive into madness, creating a segment that is brilliant in its execution.
I was thinking along the lines of no TV and no beer make Homer something something.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
The best thing about it is that you don't even need to see The Shining to enjoy it, as it would be more than a decade later before I would actually see the movie it spoofed. It has some of the most quotable dialogue.
That's odd. Usually the blood gets off at the second floor.
My husband is on a murderous rampage. Over. Oh, well, thank God that's over.
Along with some outstanding animation. It also begins the running gag of Willie getting an axe to the back every time he tries to help someone out in this Halloween trilogy. There is a lot I could say about this episode to praise it, but I'm going to end it here because if you have not seen these episodes for themselves, you are doing yourself a complete disservice and need to go out and watch them now, this month, while it's Halloween. I'm not sure if they'll actually be aired on TV because Fox doesn't like to air Halloween episodes anymore at Halloween time, but they are definitely ones you need to watch no matter how you have to watch them. Until next time, bye.
Stay on the path. Don't go off it. Kill this one man, you destroy a race of people, an entire history of life. Europe remains forever a dark forest. Step on a mouse, you leave your print like a Grand Canyon across eternity. So stay on the path.